Good day and welcome to another segment of In the Spotlight. I'm Superintendent Michael Richard, and today I'm very pleased to be joined by two outstanding Westsiders, Jim Sherbo and Dan D'Angelo. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dan.
Let's I know it's your first time here, but let's get this started a little bit easy. We'll make sure that everybody in the audience at home knows who you are. So, Jim, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're from, what you do, and
Sure.
and then Dan, I'll ask you the same thing.
Sure. Thanks for having us again. I actually grew up in West Springfield and went to the West Springfield High School, the old high school now, not this nice facility, and went to school at Western New England College, and got my bachelor's degree in business management in 1982. Stayed on to get my MBA in finance. Graduated there in '88, and I'm in the banking field. I work for People's Bank in Holyoke. Just glad to be kind of back and part of the town.
Very good, very good. And Dan?
Yeah, so I grew up in Ludlow. Did not play soccer, one of the few that didn't. Went on to Bridgeton Academy on a football scholarship up in Maine. Figured those winters were a little too extreme for me. Came back to Westfield State University now, and was going to go into teaching. You know, I really was interested in the coaching track. I really wanted to. I loved basketball and football and the X's and O's, and figured teaching would be the inlet to get there. And, got a call for a part-time job at the Ludlow Boys and Girls Club at the time, and took that one summer in '89, and yeah, that's been my career since. Been in West Springfield now for just over 6 years, and I've enjoyed it immensely. The community and the work ethic here is great. So.
Outstanding. So I've got you both here today because you're two very civic-minded guys, contribute a lot to the community. Tell me a little bit about the organizations and the committees that you're part of, how you got involved in them, and really what those relationships mean to you. And Dan, why don't you start?
Sure. Well, just as the nonprofit and as the Boys and Girls Club, it's a civic organization on its own. You know, working with children and families. And very, very early in my career, I started to realize, as social issues came up, whether it's in the town or the state or nationwide, a lot of it kind of was focused on the school department. And you know, there's great resources there. There's great intelligence and work ethic, but I always thought it can't always just be that. It can't always be the school department trying to figure out every problem that exists. So I started to get more involved. You know, out here in town, I'm on Rotary, a Lion, on the Chamber, to make sure that, you know, we're at that table when those issues come up. That it's a community effort, no matter what it is. I mean, we're in a huge opiate addiction crisis right now with our youth, and I wanted to make sure that my organization, myself personally, and the organizations I'm affiliated with, were always at the table trying to look for you know, those resources that could assist those problems that are occurring, and could also be there, you know, looking forward. I mean, what's going to be next for the community? What's going to come down the line? And you know, I just always thought that no matter what I was doing, I needed to be at that table to make sure that I was a part of the solutions and not just looking for people to answer them for me.
Absolutely. And Jim, you two are on CARE Coalition, and besides working with People's Bank, you're certainly a member of the Lions Club as well. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. You know, so growing up in town, I grew up in the Merrick section, about 100 yards from the Boys and Girls Club, and you know, living here most of my life, my career kind of took me to other places. I always lived in town, but working for the larger, more regional banks, I was not home a whole lot. A lot of traveling, that kind of thing. When I was able to come to People's Bank in 2012 and actually be based here closer to home, I was able to get more involved again. And I was at dinner actually with a good friend of mine, and who was on the board, past president of the Boys and Girls Club, and just said, you know, hey, how do I get involved? And that's kind of how it started. So I got involved by getting put on the board and kind of going from there. I got involved with the Lions Club through the Boys and Girls Club. The Lions Club donates to the Boys and Girls Club for the help we give them at the Big E every year. And I did a stint, you know, a couple of shifts there for the Boys and Girls Club, met some of the Lions, and thought, you know, this would be a great opportunity to take and maybe combine the two somehow. Wasn't quite sure how, but thought maybe there'd be an opportunity. And then when I got asked to be on the CARE Coalition, I thought that would be a great opportunity to kind of bring all of that together. I've got grandkids now in the school system. I got 4 here in town, And the opioid crisis, you know, I never realized it reached down into the grammar schools, and as I guess it does. So I thought that would be a good opportunity to take my background with the Boys and Girls Club, all the good work that Dan and his staff is doing, whatever we can help with the Lions, and kind of put it together somehow.
And it's been a heck of a partnership, certainly, with the CARE Coalition,
Really
with the
has.
Lions Club, and with so many other organizations in town, between helping to prepare meals in advance of events and trying to draw people in. And,
Really
and
is.
it's adding to the success of those events when we put them on. So both of your organizations, or both of you as individuals in the organizations you're associated with, have real connections to the students here in West Springfield. And tell me, how can they get involved? How can students contribute to the work that you guys are doing, your organizations are doing, to help to form a stronger community here in West Springfield? And I'll defer to either one of you.
Yeah, you know, from my perspective, I mean, we're always trying to get more kids involved in the Boys and Girls Club. You know, the work that Danny and his team is doing there, his staff has done, it's been really outstanding. It's unbelievable. If you chart the progress we've made since Dan's come on board, especially with the schools and what we've done here in town, it's unbelievable. So we try to get more involvement with the kids all the time. The Lions is always kind of trying to find ways to help different organizations, either cooking. You know, we probably cook 1,000 hamburgers and hot dogs every year. I don't know. It's uncountable how many we actually cook. But we try to do events that help the kids and help families that need help. And the CARE Coalition, I'm relatively new on that, about a year now, and I think there's a whole lot more opportunity there to get all three organizations more connected.
Sure.
I think those discussions, you know, with the students as early as elementary school about giving back. I don't want to say it's a lost art, but you know, there's a generation there that has to realize and look within their school and their community at who is assisting in different organizations. You know, the Lions Club and cooking at all these events, the CARES Coalition and the you know, the speakers and the events they put on, the education they pour out there in the community for, you know, parents to be aware that just doesn't happen. You know, there's committees and there's leaders in the community that are working all the time to make sure that the best interests of the community, the families, the children are being taken care of. And every generation that needs to know that that's part of their responsibility as caring adults. That's going to be their, you know, one day they're going to be asked to do that. And you know, hopefully when they're out in these events and they see, you know, the superintendent Mike Richard is, you know, here at this event, and the Lions Club is here, and Rotary and the Chamber, that they start to realize that, you know, that's you know, part of being a great community is everybody coming together when. Not just when there's a crisis, you know, but coming together to discuss how we can always make the community better, how we can always help the next family, the next child down the line. And, you know, it's a perfect example of our collaboration with the schools. You know, when we started the programs, the after-school programs there, you know, the dialogue that happens between now with our staff and your staff and the principals, and, you know, it's made a difference for those families and those children.
Absolutely.
It's almost unmeasurable, except you can see it and you can feel it.
And the two largest events that the Lions do, the Working at the Big E and the flag event we do on the Common every year, all the money we make on the Common goes to scholarships for kids. And about 25% of the money we make at the Big E goes to scholastic scholarships for kids here in town. So I think that's a big.
It really is
big
about
factor
giving
too.
back, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, the school department, starting on February 1st, will be running this kindness challenge for the month of February, where we're challenging students to do something kind each day during the month, and at the end, if they've succeeded in that challenge, they can submit a form, their calendar, noting what they've done. And have an opportunity to win some pretty amazing prizes. And Dan, I want to thank you for your donation. Very generous that kids have a chance to win a free week of I think April vacation and summer camp at the Boys and Girls Club, and that's a pretty enticing opportunity for a lot of kids. And again, that donation is very much appreciated. It's pretty outstanding. It's just one example of the way that we work together. Let's talk for a second about the programs that you do in the schools, Dan, and how they've grown over the years, and maybe if there are families at home that want to know about those programs, how they can get involved.
Sure. Yeah. The before and after school programs started about about 5 years ago now. We started in, I think, Tatham and Fozzie were the first two. We've moved on to John Ashley and in Mittenegg now. We're also in the middle school. And they were really to combat a couple things. Parents, whether they're single parents or two working parent families that needed childcare, needed reliable childcare, and couldn't find it within the town. This provides that opportunity. All those programs are open till 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. They cover half days. The club covers professional development days and vacation weeks. So we try to make sure that those programs are open for parents when they're working or in school. And they were really just started to combat that. And then we got into the discussions with the administration and the staff and how we can some of the math and literacy programs that we developed in the schools, homework help and assistance, really to help assist those students that may be falling behind or struggling, or even just to get their homework done. A lot of our kids are they're getting picked up at 6 and they're going on to ballet, or they're going to football, or they're going to basketball. By the time they get home, it's 8:30. They got to eat, they got to shower, and then if they have to do their homework, at least these programs and our staff is there to assist them to get their homework finished, completed. And those programs that we build into it are kind of on the back end of the academics. So might be measuring and cooking in the class, in the after school program, where they're using their math skills and they don't know it, or it's a drama class, or script writing, where they're doing these little literacy programs. They don't really know they're learning, but they're using their skills outside of a academic format.
Sure, it's an extension to their day. And
it is,
their learning.
yeah, and the recreation is built in there too. I mean, they've been in class for 6 hours, so running off some steam and playing and socializing, those aspects are there too.
And that's the important part, I think, is that personal connection, socialization, not screen time, right?
Exactly.
It's not screen time.
Yeah.
There is a big event coming up. The Boys and Girls Club have a fundraiser, and I don't know if either or both of you guys want to speak to it, but tell me a little bit about what the event is, how people can get tickets, and a few details.
I mean, I can tell you how it started a few
Sure.
years ago. Danny had just come on board, and we had done a few things to the club to kind of spruce things up a little bit, and we really were proud of it. And we wanted people to come in and kind of see the facility. That's kind of how it started. And right from the really beginning, we had a tremendous turnout, and that was kind of my first exposure to the community support that we saw. I think the first event we had probably had 300 people come, and that was a pretty impressive event to see how the community has embraced what we've done. But Danny give you details on how you can get tickets and things like that.
Yeah, so the event is Friday, March 29th. This year we've moved it to the Carriage House at Storeton. We've kind of outgrown our gymnasium set up there. Currently, right now, we have about 11 or 12 different drink vendors. So we have some craft beers coming in, some craft vodkas, and other drinks. We have about 7 or 8 restaurants, local restaurants that are going to be displaying their food, various types for our event goers. Tickets can be purchased at the club or by calling the club or any of our board of trustees. They're $35 a ticket, very reasonable for a great night out and a great cause. We also have a live auction. We have a Caribbean cruise we're auctioning off. Monster tickets, monster seats to the Boston Red Sox. So we keep building on that. All the proceeds stay in town. 100% of it goes to the Boys and Girls Club and stays here. And all of our fundraising events like this really go to offset our financial aid. We currently, every day we get new financial aid requests. We honor every single one of them, whether they can get some type of outside financial aid or we supplement them ourselves as an organization. That's what our fundraisers go for. So if anyone were to call and say, their child needed care, needed to be at the club, we have the means to take them there.
Very good, very good. I'm going to go. I got two questions for you to round out. One is coming, and the other one you don't. But and I'll start with the one that I'll start with the one that you don't know that is coming. I want to always keep bringing it back to the schools, and so just think back as a Ludlow High School graduate, as a West Springfield High School graduate. Tell me somebody in your schooling experience that made a difference in your life and how that person made a difference.
Yeah, I think going through school, I think my English teacher in school at high school taught me how to kind of, I think writing skills are important, especially in the business world. And I think I picked up a lot from her in the writing world.
Okay.
And I mean, how to communicate and that kind of thing. But I had my overall experience in high school was we had great teachers back then.
Good, good.
I'll go to the athletic end only because when I was in high school, that was kind of what kept me in school, kept me going. I had to go to practice, had to be in school to go to practice, had to have good grades to play. So, football, basketball, baseball kept me going. And there's actually 3 of them, my football coaches when I was in high school. One of them who lives in town right now, Carl Eriksberg, Steve Marino, and Dr. Kosher, were 3 guys that were my football coaches the 3 years. They probably never knew this before, if they ever see this, but the way they interacted with us as players, and they were all teachers in the school, so you saw them every day, and you saw their camaraderie as coaches and how they worked together and how they instilled that in us. I always look back at those days as something that kind of formed me, that, it was athletics. I obviously am not an NFL player. I will not be there Sunday for the Patriots. Didn't have that skill set, but the teamwork, the communication, working as a group to accomplish a certain task or goal. And those 3 guys always stood out to me as, just the way they handled themselves. So Carl Eriksberg is watching. They had a great influence on me. So.
Awesome. I love to hear it. Now, the last one. This is the one that everybody gets. So
I'll go first.
The way we keep this program going is by getting some ideas from guests about who they'd like to see. So, Dan, who would you like to see featured in the spotlight?
If Springsteen could get here, Mike, if you could make that happen. John Weiss was one of the first people I met when I came into town, one of the first board members I met, and off of our discussions of civic duties and different clubs we're on. John's very active in town. He's on the CARE Coalition. He's on a lot of different civic groups and very active. He would be someone. I'm sure you could. It'd probably be here for about an hour.
I don't think it's too difficult to get John in front of him.
Yeah. No,
we
won't
can make
struggle.
that happen.
You won't struggle with
there
that.
you go. How about you, Jim?
I think Kurt Jonah just came on the CARE Coalition. He's also on the board of the Boys and Girls Club with us. He'll be president next year, and I think he would be a good guy to have on. He's got a great story of kind of how he's reaching out, and I think he would be good to.
Good. So the good news is you're off the hook, Jim, because we had Kirk on last week.
Oh yeah, you did?
Yeah, and
right.
I'm not. You
Right.
can go back to the well if you want.
I'll go back to the well.
All right, go ahead.
How about Nikki, our new director? Of
Nikki
CARE
Lewis,
Co-
I think, would be a fantastic
Yeah,
choice.
yes.
Nikki Lewis is the CARE Coalition's new coordinator, and
Yeah.
I think she'd be an outstanding
I think it'd be
person.
good for the CARE Coalition.
Fantastic, fantastic, good. Well, it's been my pleasure to be joined by 2 outstanding contributors to the West Springfield community, Dan D'Angelo and Jim Sherbo. It's always a pleasure to have gentlemen like this on the show, and I look forward to another segment with all of you real soon. Thank you.